Oh, okay. Probably should have set all of that up before I went live, but oh well. Hello. We are back for the red cards. Um, and we are starting with one of my favorites. I really like Atog. Atog is an interesting card because I have heard from a lot of sources of old school players that a lot of people did not like this card. Um, I've heard some say that they thought the card was bad. I've heard some say that they thought the card was too good. Hey, Richard, Utah. Nice. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about Atog. This is a really interesting and fun creature, in my opinion, but it has often been seen as being bad or stupid. It was apparently an unpopular card back in the day, which is kind of crazy because this card is honestly kind of secretly cracked. It's definitely not good these days, but when Revised came out, it was still possible to get Moxen. You'd have to pay a lot of money for the time. If you knew what you knew now, you would probably buy everyone you could, but a Tog with like Moxen and cards like Balance, if you just play a bunch of low cheap artifacts and like Mind Twist or Balance your opponent, you can then, when you get a chance to swing in with the Atog and give it +2/+2 per per artifact. So if you have 10 artifacts in play, when you go to attack, you can just one shot. Atog is really good. It's really interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know that I have much else to say about Atog. I really do enjoy this card though. It's one of my favorite old school cards to play with and to play around. Um, it was illustrated by Jesper Meerfers, and Atog is really cool. The art's fantastic. I really particularly like the eyes, the shading that he did in the eyes. They, depending on which version you're looking at, it looks sort of a pre-affinity artifact king. That's an excellent way of saying it. Yeah, exactly. Is the affinity deck before affinity. Um, Potentially really, really strong. Yeah, the eyes. I like the eyes in the art. It's they can look really, really cool. But the whole creature concept is pretty funny to me. I like it. Um, a tog is an anagram of goat, so it's just like that's just like let's throw mix up the word goat, and that's how they came up with a tog. Um, yeah, fantastic card in my opinion. Uh, Interestingly enough, banned in Pauper, so I guess I'm not the only one that sees this card as really good. A tog is banned in Pauper. Huh, that's interesting. But yeah, a tog's a great card. It's a great card. Uh, Burrowing is an enchant creature, costs a red mana, and target creature gains Mountain Walk. The art's pretty fun for this. It's a Mark Poole piece. Not one of my favorite Mark Poole pieces. Um, uh, but but it is pretty fun. Yeah, it's an anagram for goat. You'd be surprised how much of early Magic like card design is just them mixing up other words. It's like a surprising lot of it. Um, yeah, like uh Felidon's Cane is another example of that. They were trying to do a mix up on like Don Fleece. That's why Detlef's Cube exists and other stuff. Yeah, they did that a lot. It's actually kind of wild how often they did stuff like that. Hey, welcome back, Crawfish. How you doing, dude? Uh, we talked about a dog. This art always got to check out. Yeah, this art's really funny. You guys missed a tog. I'll just summarize that quick since you just got here. I really like a tog. It's good, and it's also apparently banned in Pauper, which I did not know. Uh, oh yeah, Never Knows Disc was another one. I forget what that was an anagram of, if you remember. Um, hey dude. Um, yeah. Uh, Anyways, a Atog Bandon Popper was pretty good. Burrowing is not good. It's okay in certain situations, right? Like you could maybe argue this this card is a lot better with Blood Moon, I will say, if that's something that you're trying to do. Larry Neopen. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Richard. Um, but yeah, Burrowing, it's not super great. It can just be one mana to make your creature unblockable. So there's definitely yeah, Discworld, that would make sense, right? Especially with the card Neverall's Disc. Yeah, that is probably true. Um uh Burrowing can be good, but it most of the time won't be. It's a pretty unimpressive card. The art is really funny though. It's so nonsensical in the best way. Um but really there's not too much to say about Burrowing. Like I said, it can read one mana, target creature is unblockable in the right circumstances. And you can even set that up yourself, but you do have to set it up. There's definitely better cards to be playing than Burrowing. All right, next we have Chaos Lace. I like to imagine what he's saying popping up like that. That's really fun. Chaos Lace, right? Chaos Lace is interesting. We This is the fourth fucking lace we're talking about already, so there's kind of not anything too much else to say about it. Um, Chaos Lace is kind of funny because you can use it with um Blue Elemental Blast. So turn something red and then kill it with Blue Elemental Blast. You can do that with Thought Lace and Red Elemental Blast too. It's not really good. Um, but you could do that if you wanted to try to make these work. There's definitely situations where stuff like this can do something, but they're so niche and like takes like three cards to do what you could just do with like a Swords to Plowshare or a Disenchant or it's just never like actually worth it. These cards are bad, but they are interesting, and it's kind of disappointing how bad they are. Uh, the art for this one was by Damon Willick, and I don't know, it's not for me. It's kind of funny, but no idea what the hell's going on with it. Yeah, changes the color, cast and cost to cast and stuff like that stays the same. There's really nothing else to say about this, so we'll just move on. To Disintegrate. Yeah, so this is Fireball 2. There's two of these cards in the set. Uh, Disintegrate is X in a red, and it does X damage to one target. If target dies this turn, target is removed from the game entirely. So this exiles a creature in red, which is pretty cool. It's not as efficient as Swords to Plowshare, and likely you would prefer to just use this on your opponent's face to kill them. Um, but this card is fairly versatile. It's not as versatile or useful as Lightning Bolt, but the ceiling of it can be higher because it can deal with things that Lightning Bolt can't. It's just way more mana intensive to do so. It's a good card though. The art was done by Anson Maddox, and I really like the art on this one. It's pretty crazy. Um, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it though. It's pretty obvious what it does card. Um, the art is so messed up, but like pretty accurate to what's going on, right? Anson did great with this one. Yeah, it is a classic. That's a good point. Um, it's such a cool card. I like it. I usually play Fireball over it, but I like this card. And there's an argument to play this over Fireball depending on what you're trying to use it for. Next we have Dragon Whelp. Dragon Whelp is interesting because it is a 2/3 creature that costs 2 and 2 red mana. It has flying and fire breathing. You can pay a red to give it +1/+0 till end of turn. And you can do that as many times as you want. Hey, what's up, dude? Glad to see you. Thanks for making it. Um, where was it? Oh yeah, right. Fire breathing. So you can pay a red and it gives it +1/+1. But if you do that, but if you activate it 4 or more times, then Dragon Whelp is killed at the end of turn. This card is kind of deceptive. At least it was to me. The first time I saw this, I was not impressed with it at all. But Dragon Whelp one, it was one of the cards that appeared in the first rendition of the Sly deck, which is basically what eventually became Red Deck Wins. Is kind of the first deck to appear on the competitive scene that like showed mana curve as like a concept that players would try to build their decks around being efficient with their mana. And Dragon Whelp was really good in that deck. Uh, 2/3 with flying is pretty great. 4 mana is a lot for it, kinda, but at the time, not really. And the ability to pump it is super useful. And it's notable that you can pump it more than 4 times. Like if you're going to win the game that turn by pumping it to like 10 and you have the mana to do so, you do that, right? Um, so it's a surprisingly good card. At least I was surprised by how good this card is. But that's kind of cool. The art was done by Amy Weber, and it's cute. Also used to work at a hologram business that made a hologram version of this card. Huh, that's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, that's real cool, dude. But yeah, yeah, Dragon Wolf is a fun card. It's a good card. It's not like Wheel of Fortune good or Lightning Bolt good, right? Because this is 4 mana and it dies to Lightning Bolt. So it's not like a all-time great, but for your creature package at the time, this was pretty viable. So yeah, interesting to know. Uh, we'll move on. There isn't too much to say about Dragon Whelp, other than its competitive history and stuff. Uh, this is a Dwarven Warrior, and if actually I think this might have been in the slide deck too. That I could be wrong on. I don't know if this ever did anything. This is Dwarven Warriors. It is a two or it is a 1/1 that costs 2 and a red. And you can tap it to make a creature of power no greater than 2 unblockable until end of turn. Other cards may later be used to increase target creature's power beyond 2. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion too. Revised is like a fine wine. I'd agree with that statement. Uh, yeah, yeah, there is an early combo with Dragon Well, kind of a combo, right? So you could do the same thing with a Tog too, which in my opinion is just a better creature, depending on the card pool, of course. But yeah, so you take the Dwarven Warriors, you tap it to um make the Dragon Whelp unblockable, and then you pump it up and one shot them, or pump it up as high as you can and do that a few turns. Um, it's kind of a combo. I wouldn't. It's not a combo like Power Artifact and Basalt Monolith, right? But like yeah, um, which is probably like I said, I do think because I just looked at the slide deck not that terribly long ago, um, and I think I saw Dwarven Warriors in it. I haven't looked at my burn deck from back in ages. Yeah, Atog as well. From what I hear, people back in the day, a lot of them didn't like Atog, but it's a really strong card. It's apparently banned in Pauper, which I just found out today. Which is kind of funny. Oh yeah, Dwarven Warriors was illustrated by Douglas Schuler or Scheller or however that's pronounced. Um, the art's fantastic. It's really funny. All right, then we have Dwarven Weaponsmith. Dwarven Weaponsmith is a 1/1 creature that costs 1 and a red. Then you can tap, and during your upkeep, add a permanent +1/+1 counter to any creature. Each time you use this ability, you must sacrifice one of your artifacts in play. Um, yeah, I don't know if something like this ever got used, but I think this sucks. Um, the difference between this and a Tog is a Tog can do it as many times in a single turn as it wants, and it gets +2/+2. This gets a permanent +1/+1 counter. You could argue that's potentially of just as good a value if you're playing a slower deck or a slower meta. Um, I don't know. I don't think this card is good. I haven't ever really heard or seen anyone play with this. Um, sacrifice an artifact for a +1/+1. Like, how low value do the artifacts in your deck have to be for this to like be positive value? Because if you have the artifact, it's probably doing something that you want done, right? I guess there are like some artifacts, right? Like maybe you could do this with like Ankh of Mishra and like play it, punish them for a land, and then like sack it to give something +1/+1. Would that be enough value? Maybe. I don't know. I guess you could try stuff with this. I don't really see the vision though. Uh, the art is really great though. I like the art. I'm a big Mark Poole fan. I've said 1,000 times, and probably 1,000 more. Yeah, Dwarven Weaponsmith. It's okay. It's kind of funny or interesting rather to think about, but I do not think it is strong enough. I would not mind being proven wrong on that. Earth Elemental is interesting. We won't be able to talk about this one as long. It's a 4/5 elemental that costs 3 and 2 red mana. The most interesting thing to talk about with this is probably the art. It's just a vanilla. Like 4/5 is okay. Like this could do stuff. It's not great though. I like the art. Dan Frazier did this. It's really funny. It has a classic Magic card vibe to it, but It's certainly not strong, right? The rate is okay for the time, but let's move on to an interesting card that gets talked about a lot on the internet. That's fair and balanced magic. That's a great way to put it. That's fair and balanced magic. Is what that card is. This is Earthbind, uh, a card that is talked about a lot. Oh, Quentin did Earthbind. That's why you people like Quentin, you fucking gooners. Earthbind. Earthbind is a good card. Um, I guess kind of, depending on meta. Good might be a stretch. It's an enchantment. It costs a single red mana. If cast on a flying creature, Earthbound removes flying ability and does 2 damage to target creature. This damage occurs only once at the time Earthbind is cast. If another spell or effect later gives target creature flying ability, Earthbind does not affect this. Earthbind has no effect on non-flying creatures. Uh, that's pretty decent. Like, red has Shivan Dragon, but and Dragonwell, I guess. But otherwise, no, it also has. Okay, so red doesn't really struggle with flying. Not everything has flying, um, obviously, um, but flying is really good. And if you can stop your opponent's flying, that's never going to be a bad thing for you. So Earthbind in the right circumstances can be a pretty powerful card, like more powerful than people give it credit for. The art is also like Bondage Super Sexy Lady. It's illustrated by Quentin Hoover, and I do like this art. I do think it's fantastic. Um, People talk about it all the time, though. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's interesting, but it's not as fucked up looking as Karma. Like, um, otherwise, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Flying is good, so getting rid of flying and doing 2 damage, there's for 1 mana, like that's shock on a flying creature. That's pretty okay. Um, it's not like super strong, but it's okay. Beyond that, though, I don't really have anything else to say about it. So I suppose let's move on. Earthquake. Earthquake is a really good card. Earthquake is X and a red and does X damage to each player and each non-flying creature in play. That's pretty insane. So like you can board wipe all non-flying 4/4 creatures for 5 mana. That's that's pretty sweet. And for 2 mana, you can wipe out all of the white weenies creatures and just completely decimate their board for 2 mana. Uh, when Earthquake is good, it's really, really good. Does solid and burn. Solid in a deck with flyers, right? Like if you do flyers and Earthquake, that's pretty funny. Obviously you'll still take the damage, but that's not that big of a deal. Uh, the art was done by Dan Frazier, and it's really good. I like the art. The classic art on Earthquake is, well, it's a fucking earthquake, and it looks like it. You can see why dude's taking damage, right? The art does a great job of um, showing that off. But I don't particularly have anything else to say about Earthquake. Oh, man, you literally just missed it. Uh, you literally just missed it. Good to see you back. Um, yeah, I talked about it a little bit. I didn't realize it was Hoover's art. Um, but yeah, it is. Uh, I like the art. I think people spend way too much time talking about it. I don't think it's anything that crazy. Um, but yeah, I think the card's pretty good too, right? Like any environment where flying is solid, it's it's decent. Um, but yeah, yeah, we were talking about Earthquake, and Earthquake is pretty good. I like the art on this one too. Uh, but you caught us just as we were hitting Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental is solid. It's very, very similar to Earth Elemental. It's 3 and 2 red mana, and this time it's for a 5/4. I would argue this is a little bit better because a 5/4 is better than a 4/5. At least in my opinion, and in most of the people I have heard have said that. Uh, but yeah, it's just fair magic. Uh, the art was done by Melissa A. Benson, and it's pretty fucking sweet. Very cool. Um, Good use of like contrast with the magma, and yeah, fuck, I don't know. She's pretty hot too, I guess. Um, yeah, it's a vanilla card, so there really isn't anything to say about it. We are kicking through these pretty quickly, honestly. The Fireball. Fireball's a fucking sweet card. It's about as iconic as they come. Part of the most well-known early combo of Channel Fireball. Helped along with a little Black Lotus. Um, yeah, yeah, sorry. Fireball costs X and a red, and Fireball does X damage total, divided evenly, round down, among any number of targets. Pay 1 extra mana for each target beyond the first. Um, that's kind of complicated, but not really. Like, if you give it any amount of thought. Or the ads going off, that's because of shit. Hey, welcome back. Ashnod's Altar and Fireball is a good way to do it too. Yeah, sorry, you weren't supposed to be getting ads. I haven't set to, well, I've been setting it to manual stream so you guys don't get ads during the actual stream. Just because we're already dealing with the latency and everything, and I don't want to deal with some people missing shit I'm saying when I'm trying to talk. Sorry about the ads. They keep putting it on automatic because YouTube wants their money. Yeah, 2 types of players. Yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, Fireball is a great card. I love Fireball. Um, da, 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 da. Yeah, I think I mentioned all that. Um, yeah, Fireball's fantastic, right? It's super super iconic. Illustrated by Mark Teeden. He did a great job on it. Such a fantastic card. Great win condition, solid removal, about as versatile as a card can get without like also drawing you cards or some shit. It's just fantastic. Very iconic red card. All right. Oh, fire breathing. All right, so next we're on fire breathing. Fire breathing is a single red mana enchantment, and once it's attached to a creature, you can pay a red to give that creature +1/+0. This ability comes free on Shivan Dragon, and it's pretty good. The enchantment can be okay. I would generally never use this because you just raising your chances of getting 2 for 1, and also you have to invest 2 cards into like killing them instead of just one. Um, so I like fire breathing on Shivan. Fire breathing on its own, it's still pretty good. You could definitely use this to win the game, and there are strategies that would like work well with a card like this. I'm just pretty personally adverse to those kind of things. The art's really fucking cool though. It was done by Dan Frazier. Um, and he chose a slightly sorry, and he chose a slightly different um kind of background for this one than he usually does, which is pretty cool. I like this one too. Yeah, see, that's actually a good example of when fire breathing would be good, right? Like if you're doing a meek stone kind of thing, fire breathing is exactly the kind of thing you want to be doing. But it's not like generically good, right? Like if you have the best cards you can and you are still trying for like creature combat, yeah, fire breathing is probably going to be tough to squeeze in. Um, but there are definitely certainly situations where it's really good and really funny. Meek, yeah, meek stone mono red would be a solid choice for that. Did you play Atog in your Meekstone Mono Red artifact deck in Chandelier? You had to have been playing Atog, right? Because that sounds like a deck made for Atog. Um, yeah, Fire Breathing's okay. Dan Frazier um illustrated it, but we'll move on. Flash Fires. Flash Fire. Blah, blah. Uh, yeah, Atog, Yoshin Soldier, Dancing Scimitar, and Brass Man. Nice. With with Yoshin Brassman and Dancing Scimitar, did you also play Immolation to either be removal or buff your stuff up depending on the situation? Because that seems like another versatile card if you're doing that. Hey Rick, welcome back. Um, yeah, Flash Fires. Flash Fires is fucking sick. Um, it's 3 in a red to destroy all planes. It was illustrated by Damon Willick, and the art is really cool on this. The art is very cool. Yeah, yeah, this is um yeah, it's very brutal. Um I like it. It is brutal to play against and it is very flavorful. Um I tend to, depending on what your situation is, I don't tend to think Flash Fires is super good. Usually if you're playing against somebody who's mono white, they're Armageddon your ass, right? Like they're dropping weenies and they're gonna like they'll either balance your ass or you usually balance would be played in mono not monocolored decks as well as much just because of white's game plan. But yeah, with flash fires, usually if you're playing against white, they're just gonna be Armageddoning anyways, right? Now this well, I guess this makes sense to fuck them up. If you can play this first, cool. Um yeah, it's probably alright in a sideboard, depending on like what level you're playing with. In revised with a bunch of the power out, like a lot of the times when I'm thinking about these cards, I'm thinking of them in context to power. But now that I think about it, with revised, you don't have the Moxen, right? So Flash Fires is instantly a lot better. Um, yeah, yeah, I've talked myself back up. It's a pretty good card. Uh, yeah, Immolation is awesome. I agree completely. It's incredibly versatile card. I love it in Chandelier. Um, it specifically shines in Chandelier. Uh, but now we're going to talk about a really cool red card. Fork, the red counterspell. Asterix. Fork is interesting. It's an interrupt, costs 2 red mana, and any one sorcery or instant spell just cast is duplicated. Treat Fork as an exact copy of target spell, except that Fork remains red. Caster of Fork chooses the copy's target. Um, yeah, I call Fork the red counter spell, which back in the day with interrupt speed you couldn't actually do that, but now you can copy a counter spell and then use the copy to counter the counter spell, thus countering with 2 red mana, which is pretty funny. Otherwise you like Fork a fireball, right? A fireball for 10 is now a fireball for 20. Um, I guess it'd be pretty funny with Berserk too. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this. Fork tends to not be good enough most of the time because it's 2 red mana and it's pretty situational. But it is super awesome when it does work, and you can do some pretty funny things with it for sure. I like Fork. Fork is a good card. It's illustrated by Amy Weber, and I don't understand the art at all. Like I get like it's forking something, but I don't know what any of the things in the drawing mean, like at all. Uh, huh. I am today years old when I realized that Fork was on the reserve list though. That's fucking crazy. Fork their mind twist. Yeah, that'll fucking show them. I like that. So, yeah, you can do so. Yeah, and I only talked about really doing your own stuff, other than nowadays using it to like counter something, counter a counter. You can use it on their stuff too, which is really funny. Forking their mind twist is great. Um, but yeah, Fork is a cool card. It's interesting and spontaneous. Very red. Then we have Goblin Balloon Brigade. So Goblin Balloon Brigade is pretty cool. It's a 1/1 goblin, but you can pay a red to give it flying. That's that's pretty good. It's not super great, but if you're doing goblin synergies, this is just like strictly better than Mon's Goblin Raiders, because it's the same card except it can have flying. Um, yeah, it's very cool. The art was done by Andy Russo, who we don't talk about too much, uh, but I like the art. The art's really funny. This is a funny card. Hell yeah, goblins. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, goblins is right. Uh, Balloon Brigade is pretty fucking funny, and that's probably my favorite part about goblins is the humor in their archetype or whatever you want to call it. Um, but the card's pretty good if you're gonna be doing goblin things. Otherwise, it's just a 1 mana 1/1 that's like you can invest a mana to make it flying man, which is not as good as just like running a flying man. Uh, but it's kind of better than a flying man if you are running a Goblin King. Goblin King is a summon lord. It's a 2/2, and it costs 1 and 2 red mana. All goblins in play gain Mountain Walk. You could always identify a man of culture when they drop a turn 1 Balloon Brigade. Hell yeah, dude. That is a man of conviction, a man of action. Goblin King, pretty cool. All goblins in play gain Mountain Walk and +1/+1 while this card remains in play. And it's a 2/2. Um, so this card's kind of interesting. We can talk about how for a while, like if you look at through all the reprints of this card, some of them say it's a summon lord. Some of them say it's a summon goblin lord. Some of them like and they kept like reworking this card because they really really wanted it so that it did not give a +1/+1 to itself and did not give itself Mountain Walk, which I guess fair enough. Um, but I think it should. I think it'd be way cooler if it did. Um, but nowadays it is a goblin and it just says other goblins get +1/+1 and have Mountain Walk, which means that if you have two of them, then they will each give each other +1/+1 and Mountain Walk, and all your other goblins will have +2/+2 and Mountain Walk and redundant Mountain Walk. It's a decent card if you're like it's good if you're doing goblins, right? Yeah, exactly. Everyone has played against a mono red goblin deck that has you dead on board on turn 4 while you can't do anything about it. Yeah, yeah. Mono red comes in hot. And goblins is a good way to do that. It's especially strong without the like rarer cards too. Goblins are sweet. I like Goblin King. Uh, Granite Gargoyle, another banger from pre-modern. Are you referring to Goblin King or Granite Gargoyle? I do not know pre-modern unless someone shows me a pre-modern deck. They could be doing anything there. Um, while I wait for that, uh, Granite Gargoyle is a 2/2 flying creature that costs 2 and a red. It's kind of good for 3. Yeah, it's a 2/2 with flying. And the boat pumping, like, is not going to be useful. Goblin King, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. If you would have told me Granite Gargoyle was doing work in pre-modern, I would have been so crazy. Like that would have been compelling. Like, well, how would this guy cook? Um, the stronger gray ogre. Yeah, that's just it. It's a gray ogre with flying. Which is funny because he's who we're talking about next. The pumping its toughness like certainly can come in handy, right? Like if someone bolts this and you like can have 3 red mana open, you can save it. It's not ideal. Um, but like there are situations where that would come up. But it would be way fucking better if it was +1/+0. Way fucking better. Um, it's a decent card though. It's not like it's not strong. Like this card is not strong, but like it's decent enough. Flying is good enough on its own to like carry a lot, especially at this point. The art is banger as hell though. This was illustrated by Christopher Rush, and it's fantastic. I really like it. I think it's great. Um, I think that's kind of it though. Kind of all there is to say. Let's uh let's talk about the not stronger Gray Ogre. Gray Ogre. Yeah, it is funny. It is just strictly better. Uh, Grey Ogre is a 2/2 that costs 2 and a red. uh, oh yeah, neat. Good point. Yeah, yeah, they were. They were also like in Legends they reprinted Grey Ogre with like Rampaging Ox, I think is what it's called. Yeah, it's not even gray. Um, but yeah, and they released Sedge Troll in the set too, and that's also strictly better. And so is uh the troll that we'll get to. That's just Gray Ogre, but it has regeneration. Um, it's pretty funny. But yeah, Gray Ogre. It's a 2/2 for 2 red. Um, it's nothing else to say about it. It's a perfectly serviceable magic card. Like it's definitely not. It's ogre. Yeah, it's ogre for the ogre, dude. Um, he does kind of just get 1v1 all day, every day by Hill Giant though. That is superior It does cost more though. You got to pay 4 mana for a 3/3. This one was illustrated by Dan Fraser, and it's pretty good. Says Trolls the Grace of All. I think so. Um, Power wise, it does require you to run black though. So oh darn, now you got to run some good cards. I think cards like that are cool for new players though. Like they play with a Grey Ogre, they open a booster with a Troll, and immediately realize that there are strictly stronger cards. Yeah, I don't disagree. Like it's fun to make fun of vanillas like that, but I also think they just kind of vanillas are great for conserving some level of simplicity within the game engine, right? So yeah, I don't disagree. I like that there are vanillas in the game, especially in the early set. And it doesn't even bother me that some cards are just a little bit better than other ones in the same set. And like, because we can talk about the cards in this set, but Bird Maiden in Arabian Nights was just like strictly worse than Granite Gargoyle. It was a 1/2 with flying for 3. You played with it a lot in Chandelier? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Um, Vanillas serve as a good baseline to show how bad a creature can be. Yeah, I agree. Um, it's a good baseline, keeps everything kind of simple. It's also just, yeah, yeah, I really just appreciate the simplicity of it. It helps new players get into the game, right? Especially because even if they get in the game from somebody else, you can just shuffle up a bunch of vanillas and be like, okay, we're going to walk you through how a turn works and how combat works. And you're never going to have to worry about instants or interrupts or players doing something on the other turn. You guys are just going to swing beaters at each other and learn how to cast a spell or creature spell. Um, I think they serve a lot of good purposes. Um, they still suck though. Um, Hill Giant's cool though. The 3/3 for 4 mana, like it's definitely not the best thing. Because Juzam Jin is a 5/5 for 4 mana. That's two more than three. Hill Giant's not bad though. Um, as just a common creature that's simple and easy to play with, it's pretty cool. And I appreciate that he only costs 1 red because if you're playing Hill Giant, you're probably playing it in like a revised starter deck, which means it's literally 5 colors of nonsense with nothing but basic lands that you bought off the shelf. Um, so it's nice that it's easy to cast in those situations. Uh, then we have Herloon Minotaur. Just another vanilla. This one is a 2/3 for 1 and 2 red. I used to have a complete set of 4 commons just to play them with friends who didn't know the game. It helped a lot to have this kind of a yeah, 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 that makes sense. It's definitely useful. Um Heirloom Minotaur is also pretty useful on its own, right? Because it conveys the message to the player that having colored mana costs are worth more than generic. Right, like you get more for it. Because like Grey Ogre, this is um yeah, yeah, that's true. Because like Grey Ogre, this is 3 mana, but this one is a 2/3, right? So 2 colored mana is harder to cast, and also you get a little bit more for it because it's harder to cast. Kind of encouraging you to try to have some like cards with multiple of the same pip kind of encourage you to play less colors or to just be more consistent with your colors. Um, and so that's kind of a cool message as well. This card was iconic. They had these were pretty important to homelands. Um, this is a really solid piece. I don't know that I would personally call it one of Maddox's finest pieces because I like a lot of his stuff. but I could see why you would say that. Interesting. Huh. But yeah, Heirloom Minotaur is a pretty cool card. Like it sucks, right? Especially since you have to be like mostly red. Like there's the harder casting cost is not worth it, but it's pretty crazy. Well, not crazy. It's the opposite of crazy. It's a boring, simple card, but it's the art is fantastic. You know, there's nothing wrong with simple cards. This one's not so simple though. The Keldon Warlord, a 2 and 2 red mana. The stars below are the numbers of non-wall creatures on your side, including Warlord. Thus, if you have 2 other non-wall creatures, Warlord is 3/3. If one of those creatures is killed during the turn, Warlord immediately becomes a 2/2. Um, yep. Sorry, spaced out there. Keldon Warlord is pretty cool, right? So its attack and defense are equal to the number of creatures you have. So this is cool because it like pushes you in a direction. So what are you? Yeah, no, that's 90s. Yeah. This art is Kevin Brockschmidt, very 90s, super massive body art. It's flamboyant, testosterone. Yeah, fucking crazy. Um, Oh yeah. Anyway, so the card like pushes you in a direction to win like your building, right? Like you read a card like this, you're like, okay, I'm gonna play this, so I should be mostly in red and I should have a lot of creatures, right? It's a good card to like push a player to taking the first steps. Warlord that skips leg day. I mean, do we know that? I can't actually see the card. I don't know. Maybe he definitely doesn't worry about it as much as he worries about having that awesome sword. Uh, but yeah, the card is pretty cool. That's a magic card. Yeah, it is a magic card. It's definitely not strong. There's a reason he has a horse. Um, but it's interesting. The art is really funny too. That's always kind of a benefit to cards, right? Half the fun is just laughing at art. Um, yeah, illustrated by Kev Brockschmidt. The art's hilarious. Um, as you guys seem to know, as you guys seem to have noticed. I don't really have anything else to say about it though. It's an interesting card. It's not super strong, but it's not like the weakest thing, right? Like you could build a pretty solid strategy against this at the time. I mean, you'd lose to some stuff, but it's definitely not that weak. Oh yeah, it is a lord, isn't it? Yeah. Uh, Kurt Ape. Kurt Ape's pretty good. Back in the day, wasn't terrible, better than average. Yeah, that was what I was trying to get across. I may not have phrased that well. It's not bad, but it's like because you have to compare all of this to like, well, what if they just like balance, right? And um, plus all the removal was like you're just gonna eat a swords, right? Kurt Able powerhouse. Yeah, of course it was banned. Look at this thing. If they have a Taiga, this is a 2/3 on turn one. What could possibly be more terrifying than that? Get this thing out of the game. Kurt Ape ruined Magic. I fucking love Kurt Ape so much. What a fucking sweet card. Uh, Kurt Ape is a 1/1 for one, and while its controller has a forest in play, it's a 2/3, which is pretty good. A 2/3 for one mana is definitely not a bad thing at all. Uh, Kurt Ape got banned for a while. Span aligns with the holy armor almost. Yeah. I mean it'd be like Mon's Goblin Radar with with a holy armor. Feels like it's more the duel's fault than the Kurds. Yeah, but I mean, I don't even know that it's like you can only have four Taigas in your deck, right? So the odds of that happening are decent, but not. Don't look it in the eyes. Saw modern play as well. I can believe that. A zoo deck is not a zoo without Kurt Ape. Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that. Um, yeah, Kurt Ape's awesome. I like it. Yeah, I don't think it was too good, but I do think it's really good. Um, it's a fantastic creature. It's important to mention that cards like this showcase to newer players that you can mix different colors to make a deck stronger. Yeah, for sure. And this was also like this was kind of the first card to do that. Well, no, I guess Sedge Troll would have been the first card to do that, or even arguably Birds of Paradise in Alpha. But this was Arabian Nights, the second ever set, and I think this is the first one that like explicitly is like, other than Sedge Troll, if you play green with this card, it's going to be better. No, a lot of the things that are obvious to players today were not even comprehended of yet. I think we'll see a functional reprint soon. It's right in line with. Yeah, I mean they might as well they might even just reprint it. Um, they have no qualms about reprinting Card Ape. Like I have no idea what the stand like I don't keep up with the newest sets anywhere near well enough to like know what's going on in standard, but I don't think Card Ape's in it. They didn't print him in Foundations, did they? He would have been a good print in Foundations, I think. But Card Ape's great. It's a fantastic card. Harambe Spear, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they were just going by. Would have been an interesting Foundation sprint. Yeah, I think so. Especially with what they were going for. Um, a lot of creatures are stupid good. Most of the ones that are like stupid good are design mistakes that like Nadu, right? And or Vivi is the new hotness. Um, but like I don't know that it's the worst thing that like some creatures are stronger. They were pretty bad back in the day, but Kurt Ape I think is a good place for creatures to be, personally. I think it's pretty cool. Uh, but it's a classic. The art was done by Ken Meyer Jr. Uh, this art messed me up the first couple times I saw it because it feels when I like only look at it in a card, it feels like I'm looking at a card with like a picture in it. Most of the art looks painted, and this is painted, and you can tell if you like look at it closer. But the detailing is so impressive that my brain tricks me into thinking I'm looking at a real gorilla, which is crazy. Walls Ragavan. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, Kurt Ape is great. I like the art. I like the card. I think it is a good strong place for cards to be, and cards like this should not be banned. Yeah, it is a really impressive painting. Uh, Lightning Bolt is another one with an impressive painting. Lightning Bolt, you guys know it's a red. It does 3 damage. It's one of the most iconic cards of all time. It is a cool example of hyper realistic illustration. It's insanely well done. Like just from a talent perspective, it blows my mind. Um, Lightning Bolt good. I like Lightning Bolt. Very, very fucking sweet card. Lightning Bolt being at common is such a great example of like how rarity doesn't necessarily mean power, right? Obviously, Lightning Bolt isn't the most powerful card of all time, but it's super fucking powerful. It's still good, right? It still sees play where it can. Maybe not as often as it used to, but the best common with Dark Ritual. Yeah, probably. Such a nice, simple, and still perfect design. For sure. I can, like, people who say it's too strong for standard, I can see what you mean. Like, I definitely can be like, yeah, yeah. Um, Especially with how the standard always seems to be red dominated. Um, but Lightning Bolt, yeah. I like Lightning Bolt, and it's pretty balanced in the card pools I play it. So many people mention how Bolt will hook them into the game. Yeah, it's so iconic, right? And there's very few cards that make you feel like a wizard, like casting Lightning Bolt. Um, yeah, I'm not surprised many people get hooked by Bolt. I certainly did. It's such a cool card. Yeah, it is just cool. It's also effective card that's versatile, right? Because you can always use it at face. You can blow up creatures. Now you can hit planeswalkers with it, so it's like even better than it was. It's only too powerful because it can hit players, and seven of them or equivalent equals a win. Um, yeah, I like that it can hit players though. I think that's the best part of Lightning Bolt. Um, if it couldn't hit players, it would just be worse Swords to Plowshare. I think 2 damage for 1 mana and 3 damage for 2 mana is more interesting in standard. Yeah, definitely for sure. Lightning Bolt definitely puts pressure on creature design, right? Um, and pretty much like if it dies to Bolt, depending on meta, it's like okay, well I can't really play it then, unless you can play more of it because there's two that are kind of similar. Then you can play more of those than lightning bolts, and so you can eventually push it through. Um, but yeah, lightning bolt is a powerful card. Standard is probably more interesting without it, but I do really like lightning bolt. Standard currently has a 4 mana for 10 damage. Yeah, that's a lot, but it's also different, right? Because it has to happen later. Lightning Helix is kind of the perfect. So Lightning Helix is definitely an interesting card. Um, Forcing more white red into standard if you want to do damage would be pretty interesting. Uh, yeah, yeah, that's part of it probably. Got done with that early on arena. Yeah, lightning bolt hits a lot of people a lot of the time. Um, but yeah, lightning bolt's a really fucking good card. Obviously, um, lightning helix being in standard would be interesting. Of course, I'd have to say no because it would kill my theoretical Curd Ape, and I can't have that. That's a 1 mana trade for 2 mana. I don't like that. Not something that can kill my precious Curd Ape. Yeah, Lightning Bolt. Did we talk about the art? Christopher Rush did fucking phenomenal on this, right? It's so cool. The art is not the reason this card is popular and good, but it certainly didn't hurt. Um, let's talk about a card nobody remembers exists because it's pretty bad. Lightning Heal. Oh, it is in standard right now. Yeah, I don't know shit about standard. Mostly doesn't see play because of power creep. Yeah, I can believe that. It's crazy when Lightning Helix isn't good enough. Although Lightning Helix is only really super good against Lightning Bolt, right? Because it counters a Lightning Bolt and gives you a Lightning Bolt. Um, so if you're gonna be Lightning Bolted, Lightning Helix helps. Um, the Art of Bolt is cool. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Lightning Bolt is a lot of great arts though. Like that's always a card they treat with some level of reverence because it's Lightning Bolt, so it usually gets really good like art treatments. I don't necessarily like every one of them, but they're all like well done. Uh, Magnetic Mountain. You guys remember this one? One and two red mana. Blue creatures do not untap as normal during their upkeep phase. Players must spend 4 for each blue creature they wish to untap. This cost must be paid in addition to any other untapped cost a given blue creature may already require. Yeah, so blue creatures you got to pay for. It's every blue creature is now hit with paralyze, which is really fucking funny. It is a funny card. This is a funny card. Um, Magnetic Mountain is a cool concept, but usually blue back in the day it was more about control. Had a hand few creatures, so it would be more devastating if instead creatures would be. Yeah, for sure. It also just kind of suffers from one. Blue has ways of dealing with this, right? Like they can counter this with a bunch of stuff, but they could also just blow it up with a blue elemental blast. Like if this was strong enough to be a concern for a blue deck, they would have options to deal with this. It is a cool concept. It's upkeep costs for all their creatures, but like you said, it's blue creatures. This card could be fun in Commander. Yeah, especially if you play against a lot of blue. This is one of those cards that color pipe breaks to do color hosing. Yeah, personally, I like color pipe breaking to do color hosing. I think that's funny. Like, if a card does something and then your color hates that color, you can do that thing, but only if it's that color. I think that design space is really funny. Um, personally. But I do think this one is just kind of bad. It's a cool idea though. It's one of those cards that I was like, oh man, that would be cool. But 3 mana is not too much for the effect. The effect is just generally kind of useless. Like there are some blue creatures that are good, right? Serendib Efreet's pretty fucking good. Mahamoti Jin is really good. Tim obviously is good. Um, I have never seen anyone who like even justified trying this though. It doesn't seem. Yeah, it's no red elemental blast. I mean, people just made a buyout of on Arena of Ancients. Power level wise, no, it is no red elemental blast or even blue elemental blast. Um, yeah, I mean, well, anything could see a buyout. I guess I did hear mention of that on like fucking YouTube or something. That's kind of crazy to me. Every other creed. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Especially like now that they're pumping 5 color stuff all the time. Color hate kind of gets even more valuable because you can always use it against the commander. Unless it's one of those commanders where like all of the color identity stuff is in the text box, so they get to be one color, so they can't be hosed by color hosing. Like I think the fucking Ninja Turtle Leonardo is like that. That kind of stuff's a little annoying. Seems like a cop out, but yeah, we're not even talking about Magnetic Mountain anymore because it's the color hosing is interesting, but this card is just not great. The art is really funny though. Susan Van Camp did this one, and it's pretty hilarious. The perspective of it isn't great, but it's still funny. Um, yeah, yeah, I guess that's all I gotta have to say on that one. So let's talk about Mana Flare, because Mana Flare is an interesting card. Um, Mana Flare is an enchantment that costs 2 and a red, and whenever either player taps a land for mana, it produces 1 extra mana of the appropriate type. So this card was designed around when mana burn was in the game, as I'm sure all of you know. If for some reason somebody doesn't know, what mana burn is anytime mana leaves your mana pool, it deals a damage to you. So whenever you switch phases, if you have made mana and not used it, you would get a damage per mana. So it prevented you from like wasting mana. It would uh yeah, killed by the rules change. Yep. Mana Flare is very cool still. Like it's still useful. It's not as useful. Uh Mana Flare is fucking brutal in Chandelar. Um what I would do is just get your hand on like Mishra's Factory as soon as you can, as many of them, and put those in your deck because the Mana Flare deck is a little bit easier to deal with when you do that. At least until they fireball you for 40 on turn 10. But um Mana Flare and Chandelar taught me that it's pretty fucking annoying dealing with, like when you take damage for not spending all your mana and suddenly like yeah you can cast more stuff, right? Like it also ramps you up, so you can be it's a very dangerous style of deck because you might just help your I love Rocket Launcher. Rocket Launcher is such a funny card. I saw like I saw one like YouTuber use Rocket Launcher. They were doing like Commander but from like 1994, 95. So they were using a bunch of old cards and he managed to set up the infinite mana combo and then he searched for Rocket Launcher, put the card down and then read that it has to go around turn order once to use it. The funniest thing in the world. Rocket Launcher is a funny card. Um but yeah, Mana Flare. Obviously, you know, you use it for two things. You use it to make big fucking fireballs to hit your opponent, and you use it to make them make too much mana that they can't do with anything with and burn themselves. Uh, Mana Flare is super effective with cards like Fireball and another Mana Flare. Lightning Bolt goes pretty well in that deck. Um, I wish they would bring these effects back to red. It would be cool. It would be cool. Red did it from the beginning, and um, yeah, because it's a burst of energy, right? It's very red. Uh, yeah, Mana Flare is really cool. I really like the card. But I still usually play with Mana Burn in my like kitchen table games, so it's still kind of frustrating. It's a good card though. It's there's decent use cases for it even without Mana Burn, but it is a lot more dangerous then because your opponent is just getting advantage and you're not getting some chip damage. Oh, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, they don't do the double-edged sword effects at all anymore, right? Like they have gone away from doing um when it does something it affects the whole board, right? Like destroy all creatures or destroy all lands or all black creatures get +1/+1. Like um now they do effects that benefit you and fuck with your opponent. And I find it less creatively restricting and interesting. But everybody has their opinion on how they like to play. And there's enough cards for everybody, so it doesn't fucking matter. Mana Flare is really good. It's not too different than Mana Barbs, which is well, I guess it is pretty different from Mana Barbs, but they kind of attempted to do similar things back in the day. Mana Barbs costs 3 in a red, so it is 1 extra mana. Whenever mana is drawn from a land, Mana Barbs does 1 damage to that land's controller. So, whenever you tap a land, this deals damage to you. Mana Barbs is pretty interesting. It's pretty slow, especially like it's a little better in revised than it would be in like ABU, just because there's less Moxen and stuff like that. Although most players didn't have those pieces anyways. Mana Barbs is interesting. It is 4 mana for like your opponent to control when they get damage done to them, and also it does damage to you. But these are those symmetrical effects I was just talking about. Mana Barbs is interesting. I really like the art on Mana Barbs. Um, Christopher Rush did the art. It's very cool. Um, Mana Barbs is awesome. It is awesome. It's a fun, sweet card. That's another thing Red doesn't really do anymore. Red in like old cards had some pretty intensive stacks pieces. Not like stasis, right? Or they weren't the most intensive stacks pieces, but Mana Barbs is kind of a stacks piece. Smoke is a kind of a stacks piece. It used to do this kind of thing somewhat. And I don't think they really do that with Red anymore. Although, who the fuck, what the fuck do I know? I haven't looked at the last few sets at all. So maybe they do still do stuff like this, but it seems like they don't do red stacks much anymore. Granted, they don't really do stacks much anymore, right? Because players don't really like it, so they very rarely print stacks pieces. Um, yeah, Mana Barbs is cool. There's really nothing else to say about it. Let's move on to an interesting card. Majai, Majay, Majay Jin. I have no idea how any of that's pronounced. Uh, this is a 6/3 that costs 3 red mana. And if you choose to attack with Majay Jin, flip a coin immediately after attack is announced. Opponent calls heads or tails while coin is in the air. If the flip ends up in opponent's favor, Majai Jin is tapped but does not attack. Uh, Fancy, right? It's a 6/3 for 3 mana to flip a coin on whether or not you get to deal damage, but you still get tapped. Um, JJ Jin. I mean, if you're a fan of putting it all on black, this card can be pretty good. Theoretically, it's decent. It's super good for blocking. This is a great blocker. It's actually kind of a shame that they didn't put the other because there's 2 of these, right? There's the one that's the 3/6. Unironically, the 3/6 that like you have to flip a coin whenever you block is way better for attacking than this one is because you don't have to flip a coin. You just you just swing in with it, and it's a 6/3, so like they can't really chump it because it'll survive anything and kill most things that chump against it. So you can just swing in all day with it. Whereas this one, it's better to block with. But if you do like the coin flip stuff, you'd win a free. Yeah, that's the one. You'd win a free. The red one, that's the opposite. I think that's a better attacker than Majay because you don't have to flip the coin, right? So like both of them have like are set to do one thing and you have to flip the coin, but because of that, they're more consistent doing the opposite thing, which is pretty funny. Ball lightning at home. Yeah. Oh, ball lightning's a great card. I love ball lightning. Uh Ball lightning at home is so funny. Yeah, I agree. That is a fantastic thing to do. Very funny. Ba, ba, ba. Or only works on his back. Yeah, yeah. The art is pretty hilarious as well. Susan Van Camp did this one. Uh, this card, like everyone said, good blocker. It's okay for 3 mana. A 6/3 is great, but like attacking with it is, it might go your way. It's possible. Good luck. Blah, blah, blah. Mons Goblin Raiders. Hell yeah, goblins. Uh, it's a 1/1 for red. Um, I don't, I don't have anything to say about it that we didn't say when we talked about the other goblins, right? It's okay. It's not great. Good with Goblin King. The art is pretty okay. It's by Jeff A. Menges and not one of my favorite Menges works, but it's fine. I prefer my Goblin art to be ridiculously silly or ridiculously serious, and this just kind of falls in the middle ground. It is a classic card. That's true. Like it's the first Goblin card other than Balloon Goblin, which is just better. Um, but it's a classic card. It's a potentially good card. This was a rare in starter. Um, Interesting. The best thing about Mons the Goblin Raider is how easily you can replace it with something better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's about bottom of the barrel. No, wait, Goblin Hero. Oh, okay. Goblin Hero is pretty cool. Um, I was gonna say if this was a rare, they were cooking. That's crazy talk. Yeah, there's nothing else to say about it. Goblins are cool. Like no hate on this card, but any other goblin is gonna be better. It was a rare starter. Huh. All right, well, brigaded home. Yeah. Orcish Artillery is a 1/3 that costs 1 and 2 red mana, and this creature deals 2 damage to any target and 3 damage to you. Uh, so yeah, uh, this kind of looks like really bad, but being able to tap to do 2 damage, like that really increases the number of creatures that you can just kill, right? So this thing can remove White Knight and Black Knight. This card can remove Hypnotic Spectre, right? Like if Prodigal Sorcerer is good, any card that like you're annoyed with that you would need a second Prodigal Sorcerer to deal with, this card can deal with. Um oh yeah, you could do Circle of Protection red and save your thing. Yeah, it can kill so many things early. That's like it does damage to you. This is a card that I can see why this would be underrated back in the day because it deals 3 damage to you, right? So like the math in your brain is already saying, well, that's not worth it. Um, and there was a real aversion to taking damage in the early game because they call it life. It's important, right? It feels like a score. Saving and hoarding that number just feels really important when you're brand new to games like this. Um, Criminally underrated card for sure, though. This thing is actually pretty fucking good. It can kill so many things early. Yeah, as you guys said, I do like the with Circle of Protection red. I do think that's funny. I don't think it's necessary. It's like you probably have enough tempo to just not care, but it certainly could be. I think that's a little slow of an approach, but it is a clever idea. Um, yeah, yeah. Orcish Artillery is such a cool card. but it looks scary because it lightning bolts you. Um, and you do have to be pretty heavy red to have it down early enough for it to be super useful. Because this thing should come down pretty early, turn 3 or 4 ideally. Um, but yeah, Orcish artillery. I don't think there's really anything else. Oh, yeah, the art. We didn't talk about the art. Anson Maddox illustrated this, and it's pretty fucking funny. Uh, it does have great flavor text. I'll read the flavor text here. In a rare display of ingenuity, the orcs invented an incredibly destructive weapon. Most orc most orcish artillerists are those who dared criticize its effectiveness. That's really funny. Uh, the flavor of the card itself is just cool too, right? Like it's like you're getting it done, but it's kind of disastrous. I think that's pretty funny. When I was a kid, I thought I was launching the arcs themselves. It does kind of look like that, right? That's a easy misconception to make, especially because that line looks like it's allowing him to kind of pivot the angle and everything and adjust like where it fires. But you could look at that like a trigger. Um, but who knows? The flavor text does imply something like that, or that it is backfiring somehow. Like maybe it explodes when it goes. Who knows? Exploding, I guess, doesn't really make sense, but there's a lot of tension on those. Maybe it snaps and fucking wings something back. But that's really all there is to say on it. Orc-ish Aura Flame. It's an enchantment that costs 3 and a red, and during your attack, all of your attacking creatures gain +1/+0. This card's pretty bad. The alpha version of it says it only costs 2 mana, and I mean it's okay at 2 mana. At 4 mana, it's pretty rough. The art is really cool though. This was illustrated by Dan Frazier. Lovely art for Orcish or Flame. Not as good as the alpha version. Yep, exactly. The alpha version costs 2 mana. Now it costs 4. Interestingly enough, I forget what it's called exactly, but they made a version of this. They power crept it. They gave it the same effect, made it cost 2 mana, and I think they gave it something else. It came out in one of the modern sets, if I remember right. Could be great if it was cheaper. Yeah, if it cost 2 mana, it would be like probably okay at the time. But they did reprint a version of this card. They gave it an extra effect and made it cost 2 mana, and it like saw no play in any serious environment. Um, Stuff like this just isn't as good as you would like it to be. It can be, right? But at 4 mana, this is just kind of unplayable, especially in this set. Like, there's so many better things you could be doing with 4 mana than this. But I really love the art. It's kind of a shame that it's not good. I don't understand why they felt the need to correct it, right? Because it's +1/+0. Like, Bad Moon and Crusade are both 2 mana, and they give +1/+1 permanently. And yeah, it's just to a specific color, but this still feels like close enough in value that 2 mana was fine. I don't know. Um, it's interesting, but I do think 4 mana kind of makes this card suck. I do like the art though. But let's move on to Power Search. Power Surge. Costs 2 red mana. At the beginning of a player's turn, before the untap phase, the player must take a counter for each of his or her lands that is not tapped. During the player's upkeep, Power Surge does 1 damage to that player for each counter. The counters are then discarded. I always suspected the beta version was the misprint. It would make sense that the beta version would be. Best I can think about is Light of the Day +1/+0 to legendaries and haste to all creatures. No, there was one. It was called something Aura Flame. It was an indirect reference. It came out in one of the modern sets. Power Surge is so much. Power Surge is like useless without mana burn. Like that was the point of this card, right? Um, because now it does nothing, right? Like, well, okay, it's not that it does nothing because it still forces them to either take the damage or tap out, which means they can't do something on your turn, which does mean they have to do something at not the most advantageous time. So there is some level of advantage that this card brings. But it's not what it was intended to be used for, right? Like this is a burn card where it's meant to like you're gonna take this damage one way or the other. So like you better be efficient with your stuff. It's a very cool card. Great with mana burn, but it doesn't really do anything now. It might still be okay in Commander if you want to like force everyone to like not respond on any turn that isn't there. You could maybe do something in Commander. But um yeah, I guess that's really all there is to say about Power Surge. Goblin Aura Flame. Yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking of. Um, as far as I understand it, that did nothing. Um, but it was cool that they printed it. They're like, yeah, it could have been that. Power Surge, right? Illustrated by Douglas Schuler. The art is really good. It's a fun and interesting card if Mana Burn exists. Otherwise, it's not invaluable, but it's or not unvaluable, but it's not as useful, right? Like you can't just say it does nothing now, but it pretty much does nothing now. Um, which is a shame. Um, a card that has aged pretty well is Red Elemental Blast. Red Elemental Blast is a solid card. Uh, I think you do still see this in anything where really blue cards are allowed and often played. Um, I know CDH messes around with this once in a while, depending on what colors you're in. I really like running it. It's a fantastic card, right? 10/10 design. Yeah, that's what I think too. It's so efficient, but it's so specific. And it just so happens to be so specific against the best color in the game, right? Like 1 red mana to stop a time twister, 1 red mana to tell them to go eat dog water instead of drinking three or instead of drawing 3 cards. Red Elemental Blast is awesome. It also blows up a Rhystic Study, which, if you tend to complain about those. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I love Red Elemental Blast. It's a great card. It's one of my favorite cards, actually, probably. It's kind of hard to pin that down, but the card brings me joy. Uh, the art was done by Richard Thomas, and I really like it. the colors and the way they just kind of royal over each other, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but I really like the art on this one. The art's great, the card's fantastic and usable. And it says counter a blue spell on it. How can you not like a card that says that? I love this card. It's poetic justice. But there isn't much to say about it. Rock of Kerr Ridges. So this is a flying 3/3 for 4 mana. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We saw a 3/3 for 4 mana that didn't fly earlier, and that was okay. This is better than that. The art of the two blasts are cool. Yeah, the blue blast is great too. The better hill giant. Yeah, it's the flying hill giant. And also the first card, like this art is the first time when I saw this art for the first time, it was the first time I ever considered a bird ever being a threat. I looked at this and I was like, holy shit, what if that happened? I would like, what the fuck would I do? But a fucking giant bird like that is like, holy shit, birds can be scary. Uh, Great card. Well, not great, right? Like Contract from Below is a great card. This is a 3/3 flyer for 4 mana. It's not bad. It's not bad. Especially if you're playing like vanilla cards and stuff. This is really good. This is another good simple card that's fun for new players. An eagle is a scary thing in person. Yeah, it is scary in person for sure, but like it's still not like imagine an eagle the size of a Volkswagen, right? Like yeah, eagles are definitely scary and birds can fuck you up, but like this was just a whole level of animalistic fear I had never felt about birds when I saw this picture. And like just imagine like an eagle or a falcon, like the look at this thing. Fucking it's practically a fucking dinosaur, right? Like there's not much difference between this and like a fucking T-Rex. You're getting fucking murderated, eaten up. The art's great. Uh Andy Rusu, or however that's pronounced. Um, I guess there's not really much else to say about it. I like the art. It 3/3 flyer. It's pretty cool. Um, Fantastic card. Pretty simple card though. Not much to say on it. Rock Hydra. Rock Hydra is pretty great. Um, it's X and 2 red mana. Put X +1/+1 counters heads on Hydra. Each point of damage Hydra suffers kills 1 head unless controller spends red per head. During controller's upkeep, new heads may be grown for red apiece. Hilarious. I like that they let you know that the counters are the heads of the Hydra in case that wasn't obvious. That's really funny. Uh Heads is so yeah, right? Heads is so funny for some reason. Channel Hydra. Yeah, that's it. Do it. Rock Hydra is pretty cool. This is a it's not really that good of a card. I think I could be wrong. I've never seriously played this thing. Um Not because it's like too complicated, but it just seems like not good value, right? Because to like for it to be a 2/2, you have to spend 4 mana on it. Um, and then like any damage it takes forever. So it's just objectively like a bad creature. It is really cool though and really funny. I like the art. Um, Hydras are a cool idea. Yeah, with Mana Flare, it's pretty good, right? Especially like because you would be using it more as like a support kind of blocker defender while your Mana Flares and stuff like fucked with them. And in fact, this would be even better, right? Because with a Mana Flare deck, if you get like 2 or 3 Mana Flares on them, and then every land is like making an impossible amount of mana that's burning them, you can then like not deal with that yourself because you always have mana to dump it into like Rock Hydra and Fireball. So that's a good shout out. That's a good thing that I didn't think of. It is good with the Mana Flare style decks. Um, or is usable with the Mana Flare style decks. Still probably be the worst card in the deck, but it would be cool to have something, right? Serve some level of purpose. It is a cool and interesting card. It's really neat how like because most of these cards are alpha, right? It's really neat how all the cards do kind of like they don't necessarily seem like they all have like a synergy or plan, but they a lot of them interact in unique and interesting ways. I think that's really cool. Um, Incredible flavor on an okay card. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Uh, I love flavorful cards like this. Yeah, I do too. They're not necessarily the coolest thing to play with, but they are when you're flipping through cards like these kind of make that experience, right? Especially the ones that are like a bit of a mechanical puzzle, like, okay, I see what they're doing here. And the way that they tell this story is it's kind of part of the fun. Um, it is a pretty cool card, but it's not super playable. Jeff A. Menges did the art. And I do kind of really like the art a lot. The Hydra itself is pretty impressive, but this dude just like full like it looks like he's hyperextending his elbow a little bit, dragging his so it's just funny. Whatever's going on here is just funny. Uh, let's talk about Central. Central is pretty interesting. Uh, Central is a gray ogre. It is a 2/2 for 2 and a red mana. But you can pay a black to regenerate it. And while controller has swamps in play, Sedge Troll gains +1/+1. So it's the swamp Curd Ape, but it's a gray ogre instead of a Mons Goblin Raider. And it has regenerate. Sedge Troll is pretty good in like if you are playing red and black, Sedge Troll is pretty mana efficient. Anywhere else it's not good. Um it's ogre for gray ogre again. Yeah, cannot catch a break. Not even out of red. Central is really good. Again, if you have black mana and a swamp. If you do have those things, Central is pretty good. Uh, Dan Frazier illustrated this. It's really solid. I like the art a lot on this one. Um, Regeneration is annoying. We've talked about that. Cards with regeneration, it's pretty good. Um, yeah, that's all I got for Zedstrel, I guess. It's a fantastic card, but it's a slightly more complicated Gray Ogre. There isn't too much to say about it. Just like there is not too much to say about Worse Disenchant. Shatter's kind of interesting. It has not the same art. Phelan Cajafolio owned this for 20 years until it got so valuable they feared a break-in. Oh, interesting. Shed Stroll, not Shatter. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a delay, so when something pops up, I tend to assume it was for the last thing. Interesting. They feared a break-in. Man, it's a shame when artists of the game can't even hold a game piece for fear of crazy times. That's interesting. I did not know that. Uh, Shatter, right, right. Sorry, Shatter. Shatter destroys target artifact for 1 in a red mana. Pretty efficient. It's the most efficient way to do it at the time. It's just less valuable disenchant because this only destroys artifacts, and part of the value of disenchant is that it destroys either artifacts or enchantments, and a player that doesn't have one will likely have the other. Not always. There are games where it would be dead, but it's just way less likely to be dead than Shatter. And it's also just more versatile if there are multiple problems on the field. Um, but Shatter was pretty efficient for a long time. I mean, I think they still reprint the shit out of this. Shatter is a funny spell. It's kind of bad. I hesitate to say bad per se. It's just like for it to be valuable, the meta has to have a lot of artifacts in it, right? Because it's just it's so niche. It's like even creature like removal is kind of niche in old school. Not like super niche because most of it is creature combat, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And if it's not, that just like blanks out your removal spells. That happens to Shatter a lot more. Um, Disenchant itself is also pretty niche, right? Like usually you would go, yeah, I'm running 4 swords. I maybe am running 2 disenchant main board just in case. Um, but Shatter would be hard to justify main board. Yeah, I could see it being super good in Mirrored and Limited though, because like that's an environment that it's where it actually can remove shit. Um, I do kind of like get the same vibe from the disenchant and the shattered art. They're different, but just the like where the like circles are and stuff, they kind of like remind me of each other. I don't know if anyone else ever feels that way. But Amy Weber did this one as well, and it's really good. I like it. Mm, let's let's move on to Shatterstorm. Yeah, it's great inside word. Yeah, yeah, exactly. If there are artifacts worth destroying, Shatter is good. If there are not, well, like obviously, right? Um, yeah, the circular pattern. Yeah, yeah, you see it. Um, Shatterstorm. So pretty much everything you say about Shatter, you can say about Shatterstorm as well. It's is really efficient for what it does. Um, if there are a lot of artifacts that you want destroyed and not regenerated, Shatterstorm is your fucking card, dude. Uh, but if that's not the case, it's not good. It's not good. If there's nothing to blow up with it, it's not good. Ba, ba, ba. I don't know that I really have anything else to say about this. This was illustrated by Mark Poole. It's pretty decent. It's not my favorite piece. The water droplets are pretty funny, but like I'm not sure how much uh, uh, sense it makes. Uh, Shatterstorm must have been brutal right after Antiquities came out. Yeah, for like the 10 people that got packs of it for sure. I wonder how often artifacts can regen. Oh, so they're not very often in this environment. Okay, so around this time, um, everyone thought this was a rare in my original play group. Yeah, I could see that, right? Because it's not too different than like Wrath of God and Armageddon, which are rares. Regenerating artifacts. Okay, so there's one called Living Wall that is, I think it's in revised. I think we'll talk about that later. That can regenerate. And then there is one called Diabolic Machine. and that one can also regenerate. Uh, those are the only two I can think of in this era of cards that can regenerate. Um, I think both of those exist by this point, but I don't know that either of Living Wall might have been an alpha. I can't remember that. Diabolic Machine wasn't though. So I think Shatterstorm might have originally came out before there was any art. Oh no, Clay Statue. Holy shit, I'm stupid. Clay Statue also can regenerate. So I guess it's kind of yeah, yeah. There's a 3/1 that regens for 4. If you're thinking of a Clay Statue, it regens for 2, but it costs 4 to cast. That's Clay Statue. Um, yeah, yeah. So there's at least 3 around this time. Yeah, Clay Statue. This delay man is killing me. It's a cool card though. Like if it's useful, it's really useful. If it's not, it's not. Uh, let's talk about Shivan Dragon. One of the coolest fucking. Look at this fucking dragon. It's a 5/5 for 6 mana. Has fire breathing. Also, Death Ward on a Juggernaut. Yeah, yeah. Like you could, yeah, on a Juggernaut or any artifact creature, right? Like if you slap Death Ward on, a lot of them can. So I guess yeah, they might have been that you could do in alpha too. So would be weird to design that effect. Oh hell yeah, Driven Dragon is so cool. It is so cool. This is the art's just like this is magic, right? Like the art is just crazy wonderful, interesting, scary as fuck. Very like 80s D&D vibe to it. Very cool. Um let's go Big Dragon. Yeah. Uh, Legitimately good back in the day, right? Like this was actually a card that would help you win games. Um Heart broke when I found out they downgraded it to an uncommon. Understandable, but it just means there can be more Shivan Dragons. I don't know if I like the art of Shivan more than Nightmare, but Benson was another one of my favorite artists of the OG set. Benson is really good. Um, I personally like Shivan over Nightmare, but I could see people liking it the other way around for sure. I definitely did not like this piece of art the first time I saw it because I saw it much later. It took me a while to like actually appreciate this art, but the like longer I play the game, the more I do. Rulebook cover art. Yeah, it was the rulebook cover art. Um, yeah, Shivan is so fucking cool. Just a classic, iconic card. It was very strong back in the day. The flying is good. The rate is pretty okay for what you're getting, and the being able to pump it to power it up to deal a lot of damage is pretty cool. Fire breathing is an awesome effect. Um, yeah, it's just overall a great card. So yeah, I guess I don't have any more gushing to do for Shivan Dragon, unfortunately. Let's talk about Smoke. Smoke is an enchantment that costs 2 red mana, and each player can only untap one creature during his or her untap phase. Pretty cool, right? Um, so this is a red stacks piece that's it's pretty fucking brutal. It's pretty fucking brutal. Yeah, Jensen said it right. Um, Players can't untap more than one creature during their untap steps. Very good with Shivan Dragon, right? Because both players are only untapping one, and you have a Shivan. That's not that big of a deal. Um, it's a pretty brutal card. The art's fantastic. Jesper Meerfers did that. Um, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's a brutal fucking card, but it's not particularly strong, or it's strong against the wrong people, right? Like all you're doing is bullying the guy that's, trying to play with his fucking crawl worms and fire elementals. Um, but it is pretty brutal. I love the art of smoke. Yeah, I do too. Uh, Kind of reminds me of the lightning bolt art, just in how the clouds are. This was Mirrorverse and Lightning Bolt was Rush, but I think they have fairly similar styles, or at least methods of applying paint in certain ways. Um, Smoke's pretty cool. The art's pretty awesome. It's not that interesting of a card to talk about though. Especially not next to Stone Giant. Go ahead, get yourself a Stone Giant and a Mons Goblin Radar, or yeah, Mons Goblin Radar, and you can give it flying like it's a Goblin Balloon Brigade. Uh, Stone Giant creature. It's a summon giant. It's a 3/4 for 4 mana, which is decent rate. And then you can tap it to make one of your own creatures a flying creature until end of turn. Target creature, which must have toughness less than Stone Giant's power at the time it gains flying ability, is killed at the end of turn. Or etc. Yeah, or anything. Anything that is less than 4 power. Uh, this is like fling with extra steps, but not really because they if they have a flyer they can block it. But Stone Giant is funny as hell. This is just this is a funny card. This is a really funny card. Um, I've never messed around with this, but someday I'm gonna have to figure something out to do something like this. You could I guess you could use it to give an ATOG flying and then sacrifice all of your Moxen to the ATOG. That would that's funny. Yes, Central is cool because it regenerates, so you could regenerate it. That's pretty clever. That's a good point. Uh you could also do that in mono red with the troll. Uthrin troll? I forget, I'll have to look at the name, but it's coming up in the use. We already got through that, didn't we? Did we already talk? I don't remember talking about it. Um, no, yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up. Sorry about that. My brain melted for a minute. Getting stupid as shit. Stone Giant, really fucking funny card. Um, it's not particularly good, obviously, but it is fucking hilarious, and you can do some crazy things with it. It's a kitchen table staple, is what I would call it, or a kitchen table classic maybe. Staple implies every deck, but it's a funny card, right? It's a fun and funny card. Illustrated by Damon Willock. The art's pretty good. I like it. It's so funny though. Stone Rain. Stone Rain is pretty good. You can you can pay 2 and a red to destroy any one land. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Uh, Stone Rain is land destruction, right? So some people feel some ways about it. Other people feel other ways about it. I like cards like this. I think they're pretty funny in the environment. Um, but they're only as valuable as the lands are, right? So like, I don't know. Like you see land destruction decks that just blow up every land, and I guess that can work. Stone Rain became even more powerful with Arabian Nights. Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm getting at. By the time Revised came out, you had Arabian Nights, Antiquities. So you have Strip Mine, which this can't hit and is arguably competing in the same spot, but then you can just, run 4 Stone Rain and 4 Strip Mine if you wanted to. Um, but you have the Tron lands, which aren't good yet, but people are trying them. You have Library of Alexandria from Arabian Nights, which is one of the best lands of all time. City of Brass is not the worst target in the world. Mishra's Factory, that's pretty solid. I don't know how much that's showing up yet, but that's a really good card. Uh, Using a Stone Rain on that is really powerful. If they're just running like duels and basic lands, I personally find like land destruction not to generate, like you either need to go all in and make sure that you're blowing up everything they have, or it's not gonna do enough, in my opinion. Like the cards that you're giving up and the mana you're spending to blow up their thing, unless you like fully curb them and prevent them from playing the game at all, it's not worth it. But I do think Stone Rain is good for like Mishra's Factory and stuff like that. Um, It was illustrated by Daniel Gellin, and the art is pretty funny. The art's really funny because it's like Stone Rain and it blows up a land, and it's just like dudes get messed up by the thing, and the land is like fine. It's really funny art. It's like, oh god, no, the other guy's just fucking dead. Uh, the land seems to be okay though. Funny art. All right, Tunnel. Tunnel's an instant, costs a red mana, and it destroys one wall, and that wall cannot be regenerated because it buried it. Uh, Tunnel's great if like there's an annoying jackass in your play group with a wall deck, I guess, but uh, it's hyper efficient for removal, but it just blows up walls. So unless you're playing against that animate wall deck guy, I don't know that this is gonna do anything for you. Uh, it was illustrated by Dan Frazier. Has Tunnel ever seen any serious play? Not to my knowledge. I don't like Tunnel could see serious play. Like if there was ever a wall that was like really good and like a crux of a like, combo piece or something, like there's an argument that Tunnel would be efficient enough to see play, but I do not know of any situation where that's actually happened. Um, it would be funny as fuck. Yeah, Tunnel's great flavor. It's a great card like conceptually. It's just way too niche. Um, yeah, it's just way too niche. Illustrated by Dan Frazier. I said that I think, but I like the art. It's pretty good. Uh, there's no reason to keep talking about this card. Here's the card I got stumped on earlier that I mentioned. Yeah, Uth Uthdin Troll. That's what it is. Uh, just slightly worse Sedge Troll. Honestly, you pay a red to regenerate it instead of a black, and he doesn't get +1/+1 for having swamps. You could fling him though, or use the Stone Giant to throw him and regenerate, and do that all in mono red. Pretty neat stuff. There really isn't anything else to say about this guy though. It's a 2/2 for 3 that has regenerate. Slightly worse Sedge Troll. Douglas Schuler did the art though, and it is pretty fucking funny. That troll sure is a looker. Funny looking thing. Um, yeah, there really isn't much to say about this guy. Um, the other better Gray Ogre. Yeah, one of the other better Gray Ogres. Yeah, Gray Ogre's taken what, 4 strays already? Poor bastard. Yeah, the flavor text is pretty funny on this. I'll give you that. Walls. Hey, we found a use for a tunnel. Let's tunnel under the wall of fire. Uh, Wall of Fire is a 0/5 for 1 and 2 red mana, and you can pay a red to give it +1/+0, so that when people run in at it, it can burnify them. Wall of Fire is pretty interesting. It's not good. It's a wall, and like whatever you could do with this, you could do with something else without jumping through as many hoops, but there is some hoops you could jump through when trying to be funny with this card, right? Um, yeah, I don't know what else. Like it's like Wall of Water, right? We talked about Wall of Water the other day. Same basic premise. There's really nothing to say here. Before I playgroup read the revised lack of until end of turn made this pretty good. Yeah, it's weird that they didn't put that end of turn on stuff. Um, uh, Ice Shade or Flying Shade, right? The black creature that had that problem too because it doesn't say until end of turn. Um, Yeah, it would be pretty good in those situations, right? Especially as just a way to like dump your like extra mana into it if you have nothing to spend it on. It is kind of weird that a wall made out of literal fire has no base power and has to be pumped first. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. What's even more weird is that a wall of fire has toughness, right? I mean, I guess it's not that weird because toughness is just kind of a representation of like your health overall, I guess. But like it's like non-corporeal, right? I don't know. The whole situation just doesn't make sense. So we'll just have to agree that it's fine. It's not that deep because Wall of Fire is like not really worth talking about. There are better things to spend your mana on. It is interesting though, I suppose. I do really like the art. Richard Thomas did the art, and this is not too dissimilar from the Red Elemental Blast and Blue Elemental Blast cards. And I really like this kind of very saturation and contrast heavy, um, almost like stained glass vibe that he has. Um, which is interesting because I really don't like that quality in like Justin Hampton and Quinton's work. So it's weird that I like it so much in Richard Thomas's, but that's just what it is. It's just another sea serpent enchanted with flying. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, walls are pretty good against ball lightning anyway. Uh Wall of Stone. So this is a 0/8 for 1 and 2 red mana, and it's a vanilla. It can't attack. Uh Stonewall walls a lot of things, which is pretty funny to me. Uh it's really good stats too, kind of. For like for 3 mana getting a 0/8 that's just gonna block the shit is pretty fucking funny. Um Dan Fraser did the art. It's really good. Wall of Stone, there really is not much to say about it, except that yeah, it just grinds the game to a halt. Absolutely. Like Wall of Stone is one of those cards where it either is trivially easy to deal with because you have the right removal to deal with it, or something, or you have flying and just don't care, or the game is over and you guys are gonna sit there until he kills you, or if like he can't swing in, you guys are gonna sit there until someone decks out. Wall of Stone is pretty brutal for stuff like that. Which I'm sure, which is why they made Tunnel, right? In testing, because they someone dropped a Wall of Stone and they're like, what do I fucking do? Um, it's kind of crazy this card even exists. Like, because it's not good, right? Like, it's This isn't a high power card, but it really brutally punishes like the early game players and the players with random card piles. Uh, Disproportionately, I would say. Yeah, it's kind of a fascinating card in its like simplicity and just ability to like be nothing but do something incredibly annoying. I don't know, but it's brutal to play with when like you have random card packs. Dan Frazier did the art. I like the art. I like the stone wall and the camel. It's all pretty cool. We've done it though. We've made it to the end of the red cards. So we have Wheel of Fortune. It's pretty good. It's restricted in vintage, banned in legacy. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good card. Ending with a banger. Yeah, exactly. Uh, I love Wheel of Fortune. It's a shame it's on the reserve list and they can't print it all. Hello. Hey dude, what's up? You're just in time for the last card we're talking about. Welcome. Um, how you doing? Hope you guys hope everyone's having a good time, of course. By the way. Um, where was I? Oh yeah, Wheel of Fortune. Fucking banned in legacy, restricted in vintage. Fucking really fucking good. This is a card I wish that wasn't on the reserve list that would get printed more so it was a bit more accessible. Just because I like cards like this. I think this is fantastic. Um, Daniel Gellin did the artwork. Darn it. It's all right. I mean, as soon as I hit end stream, it's gonna be up on YouTube. Like, you could just go to my channel and go to the live streams, and then you can just watch it. It won't be the same, obviously, because you won't be interacting during the cards. So sorry for that, but you can still see it at the least. Dropping this in limited against the dude with the ancestral to make them deck out. You say that, but like if you guys watch my Pocket Cube stuff and that gameplay, I have legitimately gotten decked out because of Wheel of Fortune and uh Ancestral Recall. That shit has been rough. Have I ever played Revised 40? I've been looking into it more and more. Revised 40 just came into my crosshairs probably about 2 months ago is when I first heard about it. And I haven't had a chance to mess around with it yet, partially because just everything else. Uh, but I'm definitely interested in it. It's something I'm considering uh, because it does look like a fun and relatively cheap way to play Magic, which is pretty cool. I guess unless you're going for Wheel of Fortune, it's a pretty pricey card. Um, yeah, Daniel Gellin did the artwork. I like the art. It's really funny. This is such a good card. Um, it's kind of interesting that this doesn't end up on the Power Nine. Obviously, they ran out of slots, and there is a decent argument that Time Twister is better than Wheel of Fortune, but it's not as much better as people seem to think. And there are situations where Wheel of Fortune is better. You can actually mill out your opponent with a Wheel of Fortune, whereas you will never mill them out or get them anywhere near it with Time Twister. Um, so there are advantages to both ways, or both cards. Time Twister is a little bit better and allows for more shenanigans, but Wheel of Fortune does allow for some pretty cool stuff, especially with newer cards, right? You ever see this with the fucking Underworld Breach and a Lion's Eye Diamond? It's pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, Wheel of Fortune, great card. It's a shame they don't print it anymore. Um, Yeah, revised 40 is one of the cheapest ways to play old school unless you ignore their asinine print restriction. I'm assuming you're talking about Swedish specifically. Swedish is the one that is generally most obnoxious about that, depending on how you want to put it. To the people that specifically like the environment that Swedish is trying to like do and the thing that it's trying to do, I understand why they make the decisions they make, but there are a bunch of ways to play old school. Revised 40 is definitely one of the cheapest. Um, but there are quite a few that are proxy friendly if you want to go that route, and some more relaxed old school rules. Um, but yeah, revised 40 is one of the cheapest ways. It definitely seems that way. I also like revised 40 because it seems like a good answer to alpha 40, which is a really interesting format, but is completely inaccessible to 99% of the population, probably even more. Um, discard 4 grave trails, 4 wheel profit. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's also really fucking good in dredge too. Of course, you might as well just be using a Bazaar Baghdad for that, right? Um, I wish they would reprint some older sets just for draft and not like they did with Magic 30. Yeah, Magic 30 kind of showed that they like fuck you guys. They don't care. Uh, the old cards have value as collector items, which I'm not inherently against, but I just want to play the fucking game, right? And then they're like, "Oh, you guys want to they sold it as a way to like open old booster packs and experience that." And then they're like, "Yeah, that'll be $1,000." Also, they have all these new prints in them, and the old prints are really rare. And the packs aren't correlated the same way anyway. There's no like fucking lands in it, or there maybe was some lands in it, but yeah, Magic 30 was kind of rough. Um, but yeah, it would be really cool if they would reprint older sets. But you know, if you have a printer or a library, you can always just handle that yourself and slip them into sleeves. Um, Nothing stopping you. Uh, the fact that Infinite Stone Reigns is the best part of that format. Come on, what are you talking about? Uh, but yeah, Alpha 40 is such an interesting format. I've never played it, but I have like yeah, I read about it a little bit and then I like looked at their rules and stuff because they do have like really interesting rules on like rarities and stuff like that. And I did like do some mental so I could build a deck like this. It seems really fucking interesting. Yeah, yeah, you should be like especially if you intend to play them, right? Because these cards cost a bunch of money and then you're just going to make them like heavily played. Like it's fine that super rare pieces of history cost a shitload of money, but like some of us just want to play the game. Um, but yeah, yeah, I'm pretty pro proxy too. My only shtick is you should play in an environment where everyone has a relatively equal chance to win. Um, so like if you're proxying up super powerful cards against people that aren't doing that, um, like that's kind of wrong, right? Like it shouldn't give you a competitive advantage. Everyone should be on an even playing field. And then I don't care what the rules are for anybody, as long as everyone has like an equal chance to play the cards that they want. Uh, they allow gold bordered cards into official tournaments. That's interesting. That's a good choice. But the gold border part that doesn't necessarily solve the problem, right? Um, because like the gold border cards, some of them are pretty cheap, right? But a lot of those gold border cards are getting pretty fucking pricey as well. Isn't like gold border guys Cradle like a lot more than I'd want to spend on a piece of cardboard that I was gonna like shuffle up and let strangers touch? Um, but still, allowing reprints and gold border is a step in the right direction at the very least. I don't know that if it does enough. Um, and so yeah, be nice if they'd allow proxies for stuff like that. But still, pre-modern's pretty cool, and pre-modern doesn't have like super. Well, okay, yeah, it does have some pretty expensive stuff, I bet, but um, it's interesting. And yeah, Rick, that's how I play too. And that's the goal. The goal is just to have fun. Really, like, who cares? Um, yeah, are you allowed to play Magic 30 cards in pre-modern? That'd be interesting. Gold Borders guy prize Cradle is 180 bucks. Honestly, a deal when you're talking about such. Well, yeah, if you like really desperately need to play with the card, and every other version is like 5,000 bucks or what the fuck ever. Like, sure, but is that a good deal for a game piece? I don't know, man. It seems like as a collectible item, sure, but I don't know. I don't like. Just feels like keeping poor people from playing games, but. Pre-modern has Mox Diamond and Survival Affairs. Yeah, those are pretty pricey, I think, if I remember right. Mox Diamond definitely. Um, but yeah, 180 bucks for Gold Borders guy's Cradle is definitely less than I expected it to be. Um, I still think stuff like that is 90% of the really good cards in Alpha aren't even legal. Well, yeah, for sure. That I'm not surprised by that. But like Stone Rain and stuff, right? Aren't even legal in pre-modern and isn't legal. Interesting. I mean, I don't particularly care either way what they do with it. It's just interesting to think about. Magic 30 was not well received. Um, all right. This has been really compelling and interesting, and I appreciate everybody keeping me company, and I have been enjoying the chats. Thank you so much. I am gonna call it a night, and then tomorrow we will finish up just like as have we done. We'll do the green cards in the morning, and then um green cards in the morning, and then lands and artifacts in the afternoon. Um, but I think I'm going to call it. Oh, wow, bunch of new messages now. I got to read these quick. I too am very proxy friendly as long as said proxies aren't scribbled up basic. Yeah, that's how I am about it. But like, just print anything off as long as I can see it. Then I don't fucking care. But like, they can't be garbage to look at. I prefer to better player wins and not the player with the biggest budget. More than 100 bucks for a card is just insane for a game piece. Yeah, see, that's my thought on it. Anything to just jam some games. Exactly. Thanks for the stream. Thank you. Oh yeah, it should have been banned. Island did nothing wrong. It was Island Sanctuary. Okay, Island's pretty bad too. Um, no worse than Swamp though. Nobody ever points at everything Swamp did. Anyways, thanks guys. I will see you tomorrow if you are interested. Either way, I appreciate you stopping by. Um, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.